leaving them a photo as a thank you of their hospitality.
Brings us to 7:52 and today's News Extra program brought to you by Intralinks. And here's Kevin Mooney.
Thank you, Dennis. Good morning, everyone. We're going to talk about prom safety today, as it is prom season over the next couple weeks. And I couldn't think of two better guys to bring in to talk about this other than State Trooper Chuck Elley, straight from his St. Agnes fish fry appearance, and, of course, Scottsbluff County Sheriff Mark Overman. So,
well, good morning.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you guys today?
We're doing well.
All right, good deal. All right, so let's talk about prom safety, and this is something that, like I said, is coming up in the next 3 weeks, and a number of things for students and parents to consider, right?
Well, yes, there's a lot of things, folks. You know, prom is a great time of year. We want it to be a wonderful time for all the high school students, all the guys and gals, and we want it to be safe, and the parents, we all want it to be safe. So we're just asking that parents please talk to your kids about their plans for prom. Number one, have a plan in place before. Don't wait till the last minute or until things start to that could possibly deteriorate. But have a plan in place. Set a curfew. Get a curfew in place. Know where they're going. And you know, the biggest thing that you can do, we talk about this all the time, but with seatbelts, we ask that you talk to your kids about make sure that everybody's buckled up in that car all the time. There's no excuse whatsoever. You know, even if you got the beautiful dress on, it'll wrinkle the dress, or the corsage, or the tux, that'll wrinkle these things. That is not an excuse. Make sure everybody's buckled up.
You mentioned the curfew thing and the all that, and maybe have with the plan, maybe have like a text code or something that if the kids text the parents a certain code and say with the code and say I'm out over here, come get me or whatever, so the parents know that it's a serious situation. They need to get over there fairly quick, right?
Well, right, and I think, Kevin, having a plan is a really, really good idea, and especially if you tell your kids there's no consequence. It's just because you want them to be safe. We want them to be safe. The worst thing about this job, and all of the cops and emergency people will tell you this, firefighters, ambulance crews, is dealing with these unexpected deaths, these tragic deaths on the highway, and especially young people. And so if you make it a plan and say, listen, call me, or have a plan to call somebody, maybe an older brother, sibling, friend, call somebody, come get me. You know, if there's alcohol involved, come get me. You don't have to call the cops, just come get me, keep me safe. But you know, when Chuck was talking about seatbelts, I will tell you, and Kevin, you and I have had this conversation about half a dozen deaths
at locations too.
At
locations where they occurred.
Yeah, and the whole thing about seatbelts is it appears to us that in half a dozen deaths that I can think about, young people and even older people, that if they'd have been wearing a seatbelt, they would be alive today. Now, people still die wearing seatbelts, but the statistics, and I've looked at them. I looked at statistics last night, and they're available on Office of Highway Safety. 74% of the people that died were not wearing seatbelts.
Just last
that
year,
died
right?
in crashes. Last year, they were not wearing seatbelts, and the statistics say you got a 45% better chance of surviving, and especially in rollovers, because you roll over and you get thrown out. Chuck's got a seatbelt convincer that I wish everybody could see it. Well, you would wear your seatbelt if you saw this, because what is it, Chuck? A 15 mile an hour?
Actually, it's 5 to 7 mile an hour crash. It simulates the forces of a 5 to 7 mile an hour crash, and it rocks your boat. That's why they call it the convincer, because it should convince everybody to wear your seatbelt when you ride this thing.
It doesn't take much.
All right. Okay. Let's take a break. We'll have more right after this.
Computer network security.
Okay.
With their years of professional service,
No alcohol or drugs.
Texting while driving.
Oh, extra patrols out.
Extra patrol.
Extra
Let's
patrol.
talk about that.
Okay.
Because we're going to be out, us in the patrol. Well,
Yeah. Okay.
you know, part of the deal here is we're a priority county.
Yeah.
Scotts Bluff.
Yeah.
Scotts Bluff is a priority county. And so, Office of Fire, because of the alcohol and the number of crashes.
All right, we're back on News Extra. We're talking about prom safety with State Patrol Trooper Chuck Elley and Scottsbluff County Sheriff Mark Overman. We've been discussing have a plan. Make sure you buckle up. No texting and driving. No alcohol or drugs. I realize that sometimes those after parties, that doesn't necessarily, really the thing you got to worry about isn't necessarily the prom per se. It's what happens afterwards,
Well, that's true,
right?
and you know, and that's another point you bring up, Kevin, is after prom parties, make sure that you know, as a parent, you check where these parties are going to be at, and make sure that it's being supervised by parents that are responsible, that there is no drugs or alcohol that are going to be there, and people need to understand. I mean, if there is a parent that is hosting a party or there is alcohol there, there's a social host law. It's a civil law. Someone gets hurt from that party, they are held civilly liable. They could cost them everything they own. So, just not a smart thing to do.
All right. And the other thing we want to mention is you guys extra patrols during this period, right?
Right. I know with the Nebraska State Patrol, the Scottsbluff County Sheriff's Office, and area law enforcement are going to be out in force the next several weeks and months, actually, and doing sobriety checkpoints. They're going to be going on. It's for the public safety. And the reason is, folks, too, is on the weekends, this is when we see a larger number of impaired drivers. So that's why that is going on. It's for the public safety. So just be aware, law enforcement's going to be out there in numbers and be keeping the road safe. So just be smart about this, and that's the best thing you can do.
And Mark, this county, I don't know what's with 2014, so many strange things have happened just in the first 3.5 months of this year, but including the guy with the tent at the lake the other day. But anyway, the Scottsbluff County is a priority county simply because of the fact that we seem to have more alcohol-related crashes that result in deaths than many other counties in the state, right?
Right. The Nebraska Office of Highway Safety is what tracks all of this, and Scottsbluff is a priority county because we have a high number of fatality accidents, high alcohol use, low seatbelt usage, and so what that means is more cops on the street because we get grants. The grants, most of the grants go to the priority counties, and we are one.
Okay. All right. So please be thinking about it during this prom season. We certainly don't want to write any stories about anything very serious regarding this time, and I'm sure the police officers don't want to have to go to scenes where bad things are occurring. All right?
Okay.
Very good. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Chuck. Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Thank you.
Appreciate